This is the Astrology of the Week Ahead podcast. I'm your host, Chani Nicholas. In this episode, we are talking about the astrology of the week of August 14th.
The Chani app is officially available on Android. You can download it now and get access to everything from daily horoscopes, daily readings from moon phases and signs, a library of audio affirmations and meditations, current sky horoscopes, weekly sign-specific readings, rituals and journal prompts, real-time transits, birth chart breakdowns, push notifications, and so much more. Share the news with all your Android besties.
This is a wild week, y'all. This week, I think kind of all bets are off. We've got a new moon on deck, and that's like the biggest thing that happens this week. It's pretty much the thing that happens this week. And the thing about this new moon is it is sitting in a situation that seems to be reflecting a moment in time for us to do life radically differently. It seems to be reflecting a moment of a little chaos, definite, again, disruption, and a encouragement, or that there's something that happens that encourages us to be wildly experimental with what it is we're doing, what we have to get done. And there's a lot to be said for the kind of deconstruction that this new moon could also be reflecting back to us. Like, okay, it's not working. So what do we need to tear down and deconstruct in order to rebuild? And I think that the really important piece here is not to get lost in the deconstruction, because we can do that really easily. I think humans are really good at tearing things down, and I think that we've become really good at talking about all the things that are wrong. And it's much needed. It's not bad to do that. Obviously, it's necessary in order to create something that is an eloquent and intelligent and correct response. We need to know what was not working in the first place. And the energy of this new moon, or the way in which a new moon in Leo, which this one is, works, is that it's about creative self-expression. So it really is a moment, or Leo really is a sign that helps to create a scenario where we ourselves come bursting forth to shed our light and to share our light and to help the situation through our own personal way of warming things up, of like being able to be like, this is my creative response to this situation. And I think what we're being asked to do all the time in this moment of great change and great upheaval, like obviously that's not just happening this week. Obviously we are in that kind of moment where there's not a lot that's secure. We don't know what's coming down the pike. We've lived through just the beginning of some very severe climate changes. We feel that, even if we're not thinking about it consciously all the time, we know it's happening. And so we can't even count on the seasons being predictable. We know we're living in a time that is very unpredictable. And I think one of the ways to deal with that is to be in a process of trying to move towards solution, or move towards the greatest creative response possible, both individually and collectively at all times. And, deal with the feelings that come up in regards to living in a world that is going through a great, great, great change. So this new moon is saying, let's get creative. Let's think outside the box. Let's work in ways that maybe we've never had to before, but that we need to now. This new moon is sitting with Venus, the planet of relationships and connectivity and sweetness and pleasure and art and beauty. Venus and the Sun just had what we call their cazimi last week, a couple days ago, depending on when you're listening to this. And that hopefully was a moment of deepening awareness of what is special and beautiful and pleasure-filled, and that can help you to give and receive greater love in your life. So that was on August 13th. If you're listening to this when it comes out, it might be the same day. And we're talking about the week of August 14th. So that's just happened. So I want you to also think back in the last couple of days, at least, about what you've learned about love, what you've gotten to the heart of, what you've been brought into in terms of like, oh, this is what matters in my relationships. And this is how to keep the flame of my relationships alive. So very important moment of the year, August 13th. And so thinking about how that's impacted you can go a long way. And as we move towards this new moon, we are wanting to get more radically aligned with that. So the more radically aligned that we are with what I would say is like Venus in Leo and its retrograde lessons, which could be said another way by saying love, relationships, connectivity, and what keeps us connected to one another, what keeps us bound to one another, how we become more radically aligned with that, as well as I think Venus is also about our creativity and our creative capacity and our creative response to life, because it's also the planet of art and beauty and how we create culture. So all of this together, the sun, the moon, Venus retrograde, is squaring this planet known for upheaval and unprecedented events, as if we need more of those, and change and revolution and rebellion, Uranus. So it's sitting in an exact square to Uranus, which again spells total chaos and disruption to me. But that can be a really good thing if what we're disrupting is what gets in the way of our ability to connect with one another, experience love, and create societies where we center each other, relationships to all things, and beauty and art. I mean, imagine. So my utopian vision for this new moon is that it moves us a little bit closer towards an honest assessment of what we need to change and what we need to become radically aligned with and radically committed to in order to create a situation where we are living with each other and we are centering our relationships. We are centering the health and well-being of every other sentient being around us and moving towards a life that is filled with fun and pleasure and wonderful things. I mean, we could do that. It's literally not impossible. It's not to say life wouldn't still be challenging and hard, because it's life. It will always be that. We know that will happen, right? Death comes for us all. Everything is finite here. It's a material world. It's gonna have its challenges. It's gonna stretch us. It's gonna demand that we grow. But we could also all be educated. We could all have the healthcare we need. We could all be housed. We could all be fed. We could all have the water and the air that we need to live this life and sustain ourselves. And we could all have the connection to one another that we need for our mental health and, honestly, physical well-being. That's all possible. There's a lot in the way of it, obviously, right now. But a new moon is a time for planting the seed for a future. And I just want to encourage us to plant a seed for the most radically awake and pleasurable and beautiful and connected future that we can possibly dream of, and even more than that. It is an invitation to unlock our creativity and to let our creative response to the problems at large be wild, to dream in ways that are untethered, to be committed to something that is honest and true and about liberation for all. The other thing about this new moon is that Lilith is right in there. Black Moon Lilith is a point in space. So there's a lot to say about Lilith, and people have given gorgeous dissertations about Lilith and the myths associated with the goddess or the figure. And what I'll say here is, for our purposes, astrologically speaking, is that Lilith is wild. Lilith refuses subjugation. And so when Lilith is in the mix, we know that there's going to be a situation that will occur, most likely, that will demand our absolute strength of character to speak out against injustice. Because her myth, or at least one of her myths, is so connected to domination and supremacy, that there's quite often a correlation between major astrology happening around that point in space and people, you, me, us, saying, no more, enough is enough. I'm going to call this thing for what it is, and I'm going to be loud about it. And this is a new moon in Leo. Leo's a loud sign. Leo's here to pronounce and perform and to get attention. So it's not here to be meek and mild. This is a new moon that's already sitting in a square to Uranus, which is incredibly loud and incredibly disruptive. And again, Lilith is here to wake us up, to say, don't stay here. Don't stay in a situation that's too small for you. You're bigger than this. You need to expand your conscious awareness outside of conditions that will keep you asleep. It's time to wake up. Let's go. So we can refuse that call or we can answer it. And the choice is really up to us. But it does feel like this week the world is in some way, shape, or form kind of cracking open. And there is a truth, there is a change, there is an upheaval that is being presented to us. And if it's mostly happening outside, totally, relevant, I want you to think about or see what it's mirroring inside or what it's teaching you internally. If you encounter something out in the world, or if you're, reading a big headline or something about this thing, about the truth breaking free, or about a big change or a shift or a disruption, what does it do or what does it mirror for you inside? And that's really the work, right, that we're always doing. How can I impact the external by being deeply connected to my internal life? How can I be as creatively free as possible so that I can be part of the reconstruction of the world and be energized by doing so? This new moon occurs on August 16th at 2:38 a.m. Pacific time. So the midweek is sure to be interesting and innovative, and I'm hoping that it does liberate some kind of creative potential within us personally and, of course, collectively, as we very much need to be moving towards as many solutions and answers and creative responses as possible at this time and, of course, all times. I'm sending you so much love. Many, many blessings. If you're interested in understanding, what does this mean for me personally? I don't have any Leo in my chart. Doesn't matter. We all have Leo in our chart somewhere. We don't have to have a planet in Leo, but we've got all 12 signs in our chart. So if you want more information about this new moon, head to the Chani app. We've got readings for you. We've got resources for you. We've got altar suggestions and journal prompts and a new moon ritual that you can do to help you to harness some of this creative potential and potency that is definitely coming through this week.
Thanks, y'all, so much for reviews that you leave us in the App Store. They mean the world to us. This one is called Oh Goodness, Magical and Supportive and So Accurate by NJHGFF. I am a longtime Chani fan from the Dropbox days, and this app is such a gift and more than I could have ever imagined. Monday mornings, I enjoy the ritual of listening to Chani's lovely voice and explanations of the week. Each detailed part about my chart is so rich and clarifying and supporting. The design of the app is truly marvelous and thoughtful. I feel that they really want it to be easy to use and intuitive, and they continue to take in feedback and make changes to improve it. There are so many resources in this app, and as always, Chani's way of expressing is so reflective of the intention of this work. This app and the readings feel so inclusive and thoughtful. The intention to make astrology accessible to all is felt. Thank you to everyone at Chani.
Sending you lots of love, many blessings. Bye for now. I'll see you back here next week for a very interesting beginning of Virgo season. Bye.